Hello YouTubers, what we are going to talk about today is the Kraft Blade. Now this is the new Kraft Blade that has come out as part of the Cameo 4. So the Cameo 4 now has two carriages. One is the standard carriage that we're all used to, and the second one is going to be the high force one, and it has up to 5,000 grams of pressure, which is considerably more than the standard carriage. And they came out with several blades, one of which is this guy's the Kraft Blade. And the Kraft Blade is a bit like a friend you really, really like, but is a bit of a diva. This is the Kraft Blade. It's really cool, but it's not the easiest thing to use. So I wanted to talk about some of the things I found out already from using it and cutting some of these things. Now, when it all works, this is a really thick leather from Hobby Lobby, and that is a beautiful cut. You are really going to struggle to do that on the standard Cameo. But it took quite a bit of cutting and wanting to pull my hair out before we got there. So I just want you to know that it's and the other thing you're going to need to understand with this blade is it's not going to be like cutting regular smooth HTV where I put my blade in. I put my blade in and I put my little settings in and it just goes. If you're going to cut these materials, you're going to need to test cut them. You're going to pull your hair out before you eventually find the settings that work. So plan to buy extra of whatever it is you're trying to test cut with it before you go and be upset that you've ruined all this material, because you probably will need to test cut a fair amount to figure out the settings that's going to work for whatever it is you want to do. The other best way to think about this guy is it looks like an X-Acto knife. So the machine, unless you tell it, is going to want to just cut like an X-Acto knife doesn't pick up. So that's how, if you're not careful, these are the same thing. So see how this has sharp corners and this doesn't? If you're not careful, it'll just round all the corners off because it's trying to act like an X-Acto knife that doesn't get picked up. So that's the other thing you've got to kind of keep in mind with your designs and things like that. Also, if you want to cut the smallest, most detailed thing ever, not going to happen with this. Also, this guy is the one that's supposed to cut wood, like the balsa woods. I haven't cut them yet, but they're here. Keep in mind, like, all those really cute names that you're seeing are not done with this. This is going to be for cutting out probably pretty basic shapes. Those really pretty detailed names are going to be done with a laser cutter, probably like a Glowforge. This is going to be for cutting out really simple shapes, fairly big blocky shapes, because more than likely the wood will just splinter and crack if you try to do like a really detailed name. You might get away with a really simple blocky name, but a really detailed name is not going to fly. So, also, trying to figure out what set of numbers you have on this thing takes a minute. So what I've been doing is rolling it so it rolls all the way till it doesn't turn anymore. It's not really at 23. It's actually gone past 30. So now go back down, and now the blade is set at 30. And then if we go all the way down again, now the blade would be set at 20. And if we go down again, now the blade's set at 10. And if we went all the way down, it would be set at 1. Because if you keep screwing, it comes off. So that's why I've been turning it all the way till it won't go anymore, and then going back down to 30. And in all honesty, with this machine, don't ever put it in at 30. Just don't, because it's just what it's gonna do is the machine's gonna go and go pop, 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 pop. And what it means is the machine's bound up and your cut's done. Whatever you're trying to cut is done. Because it's gotten off track. So you're going to do a lot better when you're test cutting with this guy if you set it down here somewhere in the tens, and do multiple passes. Do multiple passes, turn it up, do some more passes, turn it up, do some more passes, turn it up, do some more passes. Because that way it's scoring through the material each time rather than just trying to brute force it, because the machine can't do it. And all it's going to do is mess up your cut. So let me go show you. You're going to need to show you how to get the sharp corners and talk about getting this guy in the machine. And then we're just going to cut out some craft foam right now. It cuts out, this is some of the leather from Hobby Lobby. We're going to do another video on cutting some of this. This is the really thick leather that I can't imagine actually managing to cut in a Cameo, the regular Cameo. One of the things we've been doing is putting HTV on the back with a heat press to squish it down a little bit more, because it's actually even thicker than this on its own. But this square right here, I got to cut out of here by turning on the extra loop so the blade turns around. But this was done on a cut setting of 1, or a speed of 1. So, and it was multiple passes, because I think I started at 10, then I did 11, and then I did 12. If I did 12 to begin with, it binds up and that's it. So, so that's what I'm talking about. Just know that you have multiple passes, the machines, you're gonna have to take this guy out multiple times and change the dial, and then it's gonna have to cut extra little loops to get really short corners. And then I did one of these little, I made this real quick in the software, but it made these extra loops to cut. And then like this guy got bound up, and that's why it got off cut, and that's why like this little piece is not coming out, because it didn't get cut because the machine popped before it got to it, and it didn't actually, you can see it pop. So so it's a very cool tool, but you really, because you're not cutting this on a regular Cameo without bits and fluff and stuff like that, and even you having to come back and cut it. So it is a very cool tool. However, it takes some patience and test cutting. Alright, so we are in Silhouette Studio. I'm currently using version 4.3.341. It's a legacy version up on Silhouette's webpage. There's been several versions that have been pushed out because of the Cameo 4 and the new tools. They are a little quirky. So, but that's the one I'm currently using. And then this is our page setup. They did some changes to it. We're an automatic Cameo, and then we're using the 12x12 Cameo mat. If you hit none, it's gonna act like you're feeding it through the machine. Like it's gonna act like no media. Like when in the old Cameo 2, when it would say load media, this is how you would get it to do that, but we're not doing that today. So Cameo 12x12, and then this guy is our reveal. And then width and height and all that. So let's kick him off over here. And then I've just been using a rectangle. Highly original, I know. And then I went to the fill tool, and then we filled them in. So this is just a basic kind of overview. Now we don't want tool 1, so we are going to see how he's outlined in red. Red means tool 1, and so we're going to click no cut, so that way it's not trying to cut anything. And then we're going to open up tool 2, and then it knows that the craft blade is in there. It knows the 3mm Kraft Blade is in there. Obviously, because it's coming up with this message because cardstock is the current default setting. So obviously you don't need the craft blade for cardstock. So that's why it's saying there's no action for this. What I've been using for all of this is the fabric setting. And so I'm going to click my shape, and we're going to click craft cut. And now see, that puts the loops in for me automatically. Now, if I were to pick balsa wood, it doesn't, and that's going to round all my quarters. But the fabric, I've been using the fabric one for all of my test cutting. And then you would need to play with the cut settings from here. I got a custom one set up. This didn't get saved from whatever I used last time, so we're going to wing it. Do not use a force of 15. Come back down here to a force of 2 or 3. And if you do really a lot, you'll eventually get a message of don't do that. Always go with less force and less speed. So we're going to do a force of 5 and a speed of 3. More details you have, the lower the speed needs to be. And we're going to make 2 passes. And I guess we'll start out with a 5 on it and see what happens. All right, so craft foam on mat. You also need to have a relatively sticky mat, and I would recommend either a fairly new mat or a sticky mat. I've got the new high-tech mat, how was it? The sticky mats, the high-tech mats. I've got some on order from Amazon, so I would recommend them for most of your test cutting because this guy's going to be using a lot of force. You're going to want it to stay in place. So we're going to pop this guy out and make sure he's set at 5. I bet it turned all the way so it can't turn anymore. And so then we're going to come down to 30. And then I'm going to roll all the way around again. Now it's set at 20. I'm going to roll all the way down again. Now it's set at 10. And then we're going to go down to 5. So put it in and push. We're doing past 2 now. Don't take your mat out. Let's see what happened. Okay, so it's kind of cut, but not all the way. So what I'm going to do is why don't we take this guy out? And now we'll turn him up to 6. Put him back in. And let's do it again. All right, so now we'll put this guy up again. And now we've got a clean cut. And see, now we've got a clean cut. Your options when... So you have 2 options when it doesn't cut the first time. You can either increase the blade or increase the force depending on which one you want to do. All right, and so basically that's it. And then these were the loops I was telling you about that where it cut to make sure that you had your sharp corners. Okay. So I just wanted to go through some of the process I've been using to test cut these materials. Obviously, if you're using a circle, you wouldn't need to make sure these loops were here. Or if you don't mind the rounded edges, if you wouldn't mind the rounded edges, you can use that. You don't have to make sure these are turned on. But I know there's not a lot of information out there about the Kraft Blade, so I wanted to go through at least the process I've kind of developed to start working with it and test cutting it. If you have any questions, let me know, or suggestions. Let me know down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.